Happy Friday, everyone. I'm Nino Cafaro. I'm a solicitor, and this is Talk Legal with Nino. Now, in an attempt to see more transparency in our criminal justice system, we saw legal history being made last month when sentencing remarks were broadcast for the first time in our courts. And it was in relation to a guilty plea for manslaughter. Now, any case, let alone one for manslaughter, is extremely complex. And in deciding sentence, the judge has to consider a whole host of things: sentencing guidelines, the victim, comparable cases. But we didn't see any of that in the broadcast. So to the layperson, it might have come across as somber viewing, given that for most of us, our experience of cameras in courtrooms comes from watching US trials like Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, albeit that was a civil case. And who could forget, of course, the infamous O.J. Simpson case. Lawyers in the US walk around the courtroom and the whole thing is almost theatrical. Witnesses, jurors, all in plain view. English courts, on the other hand, have historically taken a more reserved approach for fear that television cameras could deter victims or witnesses and jurors taking part. An interesting step forward, in my opinion, and I, for one, would like to see more of this. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. As we're talking legal history, let's go from something recent to something way back. In England, we have what's known as a constitutional monarchy. That means while the sovereign, currently Queen Elizabeth, is head of state, legislation is made and passed by an elected parliament. The head of state, the monarch, pretty much does as they're told, and there's very good reason for that. Between 1649 and 1660, England was a republic. After the English Civil War, King Charles I, who wasn't particularly popular, was executed for treason, and he was beheaded. The monarchy was abolished. Oliver Cromwell led the new English Commonwealth, making a bit of a pig's ear out of things until he died in 1658. And then his son Richard took over. He was equally naff and chased out of the country. I think he went to France. With him gone, the English Commonwealth, about as much good as an ashtray on a motorbike, the monarchy was restored. Now, having lost his head, King Charles I was unavailable for a second term, so the offer went to his son Charles, with a reminder to play nice, or he might well end up like his dad. And the constitutional monarchy was born. Get this, later the dead and buried Oliver Cromwell was exhumed from his grave, put on trial and convicted of high treason. Just imagine the cross-examination. His corpse was hanged, beheaded, and his head was stuck on a spike outside Westminster Hall. Imagine if he'd been to a party during lockdown. What would they have done to him then? Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the next news bite, especially if you're an employment lawyer. The NHS posted a job encouraging people who identify as female to apply. What's all that about? Now, I'm not an employment lawyer, but is that legal? I've read a lot about this in recent months, and I hear arguments about positive discrimination, and I haven't got the time in such a short post to discuss what I think about that. But I reckon I'd be absolutely trolled if I posted a job for a legal assistant and said, only men apply, or only if you identify as male should you apply. Rightly so. I'd love to hear what you think, though. Now, no legal post would be complete without mentioning death and taxes. And the Women and Equalities Commission has called for better protections for cohabiting couples. And many people still believe that the myth that common law marriage exists. It doesn't, despite what your mate down the pub tells you. That means if you live with someone for 50 years, have dozens of children with them, when you die, unless you make a will leaving them something, they get nada, nothing. I'm actually not sure why I say nada. That's Spanish and I'm Italian. I should say niente. But anyway, they don't get anything. If you're married, on the other hand, and you don't have a will, the law provides for your spouse to get something. Should the law change? What do you think? In the meantime, if you like the video, give it the thumbs up. Leave your comments on either the YouTube or LinkedIn, Facebook profiles. And for all your legal updates, fun legal history, maybe employment law, definitely death and taxes, just hit the subscribe button.